Hi Photos subscribers. If this is your first video to watch from my channel, please let me know, comment below what your interest is in photography. Are you wanting to learn how to shoot photography yourself? Are you wanting to learn what is involved in photography, if it's something that's worth your time and interest to learn? Is it something worth your time and energy in school, past high school, or even in high school to learn anything about photography and what pathway you need to choose? Or if you are a retiree with a camera and you want to know how to use that camera, comment below. Let me know how to help best serve you, and we will start to cater our content to be a little bit more important for you, to answer some of your most burning questions. It's something that I enjoy. I'm Joe. If this is the first time you've met me, I'm Joe. I'm a professional photographer. I have over 17 years of private experience and just doing my own stuff and building my own portfolio on my own time. And I have 8 years in a photography studio experience, so I know some strobe studio lighting, and I know some natural lighting tips, tricks, effects that I've used in my own portfolio. So please comment below, let me know what you're doing, what you want to do, what you want to see, and we will start talking to some of the things that you can use to improve your photography. I'm sure you've got a lot of great photographs and there's some good things that you have built on. Maybe you're stuck in a rut and you just want to have a little bit of a different perspective from somebody else, and learning how to use the equipment you have to better effect. Or when you're ready, if you're ready to level up, we're going to start building our videos here on YouTube and showing you what different models of equipment do, their strengths, their weaknesses. What lens do I use? This is what I'm going for. What is the best lens to use? We're going to have a lot of the things that I've experienced over my 25 years experience in photography, privately or in a studio, professional studio. And I'm going to be sharing some things that I've found helpful, but I also want to hear some feedback from you so that I can actually make this content something that is important and specific to you. So thank you so much for tuning in. Great to have you here. Today we're going to be talking about the lenses and how they work. Specifically today we're going to be talking about the diaphragm. The diaphragm is important because that is actually a number value that you see on your camera settings, and it tells you how wide open or closed your lens is, how much light it receives, so that the sensor on your camera can actually expose what the camera sees well enough to be seen. So I've got a little bit of a visual aid here, and the diaphragm actually is kind of interesting inside the lens of a camera. It is you could say flanges, but it has about 8 of them, and it's actually in the thumbnail, and I'm gonna show you a little bit of a visual aid here I have in my hand. But it has about 8 different flanges, quote unquote, and they move together in a single dimensional plane. Well, not single dimensional, it's kind of impossible, but it moves in a plane, all of those flanges together to close off or to open up. And here's this little visual aid to show you what a diaphragm of a lens looks like. This is not actually a diaphragm of a lens, but it is something similar to, and so that's why I'm using it as an illustration. But you can see here, as I open that up, how those little pieces of metal right up inside here are sliding against each other, and how that as the item around is controlling these flanges. I'm going to close it up here, and you can see that as I close it off, these flanges are moving closer and closer together, creating a smaller hole through which light will not as easily pass, as if that diaphragm through here were opened larger. That being the operation of the inside diaphragm of a lens, you can actually see there's a lot more flanges on this diaphragm than the 8 commonly on a lens diaphragm. And some lens manufacturers may actually use more, but that would just creates more moving parts. And manufacturers are trying to limit the things that might go wrong with their lenses. And so they're going to use as little moving parts as they can, but some of these zoom lenses just have to have some moving parts. So this illustration of a diaphragm in a lens is going to show you just how closed off these diaphragms go, Now this one won't close all the way, but neither will the diaphragm in your lens. It's actually impossible for it to completely close, but it closes down very, very far. You see that it's a very small hole, and just to kind of give you, well, you don't, a generic fingernail, a generic fingernail. It's about the width of my middle finger fingernail. You can see it there on my index finger. And so that being the use and operation of a diaphragm for a lens gives you an idea of how the f-stop controls how dark or how bright your photographs are, and that's exactly why. Why do my photographs turn out so dark when I have an f-stop, let's see, 22? Or some lenses go up to 32, and I guess if they're meant to be a very specialized lens, they might go higher. But why the higher the number do my images turn out darker? And that's why, because the real sense of why your photos are turning out dark is because at 22 or 32, your lens is shut down really, really far. And so it's not letting much of any light in. But that also has to do with, when we talk about focus, why the focus changes too. Why are some things out of focus? Why are some things in focus? There's the autofocus function, but there's also the focus that is allowed by the opening, which is called the aperture of the diaphragm. So when we go into detail more and more, I just wanted to give this visual illustration of what a diaphragm looks like when it opens and when it closes, and that way you'll have a little bit of an understanding as to why the effect on your camera exposures, but also how it works. Now, the one last question I have, and I figure y'all want to know and learn from this as well, is when I shoot at f-stop, say 2.4, what does that mean for my diaphragm? What is the actual size of my diaphragm? How can I be sure it's a certain size? I wouldn't say the size is necessarily important, but if that's something that you want to look at, go to your camera manufacturer and see, or that lens manufacturer, and see what the standards and the dimensions of that camera lens really are, and they may actually tell you not just the aperture stop of the lens diaphragm, but what that opening size is in centimeters and millimeters, or maybe even inches. But it's going to be parts of an inch more than likely, because most lenses I know of, at least for Canon and Nikon, the professional line of cameras, those lenses are no more than 4 inches wide. So the aperture of your lens diaphragm cannot be any wider than that, though it could close down fairly small as this diaphragm. You can see that's pretty much the entire amount that I can close it. So it's I would estimate just under a ½ inch. So this would illustrate something of your common f-stop 22, and this would open up, most lenses I think go down to 1.8, but that would kind of give you an idea of what f-stop 1.8 would look like. And the thing that I would encourage you to focus on more, once you've kind of appeased the appetite of your desire to learn on figuring out what the specifications of your lens are, is just get out and play with the same lighting, amount of light that you can, broad daylight or a cloudy day. So that the cloudy day with an even cloud cover is going to give you the most consistent lighting over a long 30-minute to 45 or longer than an hour time period. And that would give you the ability to see what the different diaphragm opening, called f-stop or aperture, in your lens. And then that way, that will give you an idea of the intensity of light that you are shooting in, and what the f-stop is, and how that looks in your images. We're going to also be talking very soon about different camera settings. I didn't want to jump right in and make people feel like we were going into the deep end with it, but the important part of knowing your camera is knowing how to set the settings. I can't tell you exactly what your camera is going to look like and do. I can tell you generally about what the manufacturers have done for their cameras, and you will be able to learn and to be able to put into practice different things and learn about your camera. And that's one of the special parts about photography, is you know your equipment very well, and you're going to more than likely be the one that knows it best. There are some other people out there that have some similar equipment to yours, I'm sure, and they'll be able to share some things with you that they've learned. But more than likely, I'm going to say this almost as a near certainty, nobody else has used your camera to the extent that you have. So nobody knows your equipment like you do. So be confident in that and learn it, and be able to change your camera settings at the point that you need to be able to set them to the setting that you need to get the image that you need. And that's one of the reasons why we're here. And we want to be able to share with you some things that will encourage you and give you some ideas and give you some motivation to play with your camera and to learn those important settings so that you can get these good quality images and you be able to share them or sell them, whatever the use is you have for your photographs. So thank you for subscribing. It was great to meet you if this is our first video. I am excited to see all the different things we're going to be going up and talking about on this channel, and I really want to hear some feedback from y'all. I don't know where y'all are. Our channel specifically, we're dialing in some features to let people know where we are, who we're talking to directly. I don't mind. Anybody who wants to join in, please do. I also understand that perhaps you don't want to watch some beginners photography videos if you're a professional, or if you've already covered a lot of this. Perhaps in the future we'll be doing some more advanced videos, but at this point our channel is focusing on those who have equipment and want to learn that equipment and what it talks about, what it is, the purpose of it. And we're going to be going over some basic details of photography so we can start putting these details together so that the equipment makes sense and our scenery, where we are, and the light that we have, so that it all makes sense together, and be able to unify those two into great photographs. Thanks so much for subscribing. Please hit that subscribe if you haven't, and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any other videos that we have coming up. If this video has added value to your understanding of lenses, we would appreciate a thumbs up, and we will talk to you soon.